1 in 5 vehicles is unsafe at any speed. Who remembers the Hope Trans case? Hear about the Hope Trans case? I think it was in Florida. A motor carrier works with Covenant. Covenant was with USPS, and that motor carrier had a driver who fell asleep and killed 5 people. That trucking company had a 35% vehicle out of service rate. That is 35% of their vehicles that were stopped were unsafe at any speed. So these problems are not new. They're not new. Now, I want to make sure we have time for questions, but I want to go to one last topic as we segue to what next year could look like.
Well, real quick, I want to say one thing. That is the government's job to enforce safety regulations.
You'd think so. You'd think so.
And what's happened is that they have watered it down by eliminating the barriers to entry and making it so that anyone, because of this belief of a driver shortage, that we need to continue to have an endless supply of drivers that come into the market. Many of them are not qualified and should never have been given the keys to a heavy duty truck, ever. And carriers, like you said, the Hope Trans that you just described, should have been taken off the road.
1,000,000%.
But it is the failure to enforce that's the problem. And that is what the government's job is to do. I believe deregulation was a fantastic thing for consumers. But there are motor carriers that operate safely. There are motor carriers that operate compliantly. There's motor carriers that have well-maintained equipment. The problem is that we've eliminated the barriers to entry, and we made it so that the guys that cheat, that hire drivers that are unqualified, end up getting all the freight from marketplaces.
Well, they don't get it.
And from brokers. Well, they transact. But that's the way it works. That's the nature of the business. And the guys that are doing it legitimately cannot compete against the players that don't. And that's the problem. And the government needs to take them off the road.
If you did everything right as a motor carrier in the United States, you would go out of business.
You can't survive.
You can't.
Go look at the public earnings of the largest motor carriers who cannot take the risks of hiring these drivers that are not qualified. You have a better chance of getting into Harvard than you do some of the larger asset carriers. If you go apply, they're hiring less than 1% of the truck drivers that apply. And I'm talking to the big mega fleets that everybody loves. The JB Hunts, the US Expresses, this was
ODF.
The largest motor carriers are not hiring these guys. It's the guys that are the riffraff at the bottom of the market. And that's the guys that should be put out of business.